There are many reasons we watch a film today. To be inspired, to escape reality, to learn, to laugh, to relax.
Heil myself.
Watching a film is one of the most psychological endeavors one can experience. Humans apply what they view on screen to their own lives, whether it's literal or only in the subconscious. As film evolved, people began to copy the behavior observed on the big screen. They began to imitate the way they saw the alternate 2D heroes and what they did. Coincidentally, film was aiming to imitate the very same thing, people. The way film is structured, though, has varied throughout time and its creators. Each filmmaker must truly delve into their own subconscious to understand what exactly they want to say and how they want to say it. As Truffaut stated, the artist cannot always dominate his work. He must be sometimes God and sometimes his creature. With this in mind, I ask, should form confirm and coincide content, or is content merely a representation of the concept portrayed as a form of conveying the message? Essentially, could content be a form as an embodiment of the message conveyed? According to Sontag, the emphasis on content-based art analysis stems from the early mimetic art theories, art as an imitation of reality. Aristotle argued the consideration of art was representing a concept which had to be interpreted. This would conclude that the type of medium used would be considered the form in which a storyteller does his job. In many cases, it can be argued that the actual content is only surface matter that truly represents a deeper meaning of the art form. In film, for example, many stories follow a plot line that evoke a deeper subconscious product. For example, in the books and movies of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, the author portrays a meaning of sacrifice and redemption. He accomplishes this throughout the content in his film. The actual visual story being portrayed is a cover-up or representation of the true story of the film. The content is being used as the form in which one tells a deeper meaning. The Narnia chapter, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, was actually a visual representation of the Christian story of the Gospel. The Lion was Jesus Christ, the Witch was temptation and the devil, and the children were all people. He used representation through his characters in order to portray the story in a new light, in order to gain different and biased reactions to the Gospel, in a romanticized form. He chose this method to engage a larger audience and to see if the values had a greater impact on the world if they did not directly connect the source. Essentially, this use of overlay content is the form in which the filmmakers use to convey their message. The use of content as a parallel is the form. Another example of this is Whiplash by Damien Chazelle. This movie has very little dialogue. The film actually represents both sides of the argument of whether form is technical or can be extended into the physical use of content. Through the silent shots and close-ups of Daniel's face, the audience identifies with his character. The way this film is shot infers the story is solely about the main character. Most of the movie, the main character quietly observes his surroundings, like a filmmaker. As the audience hears the noise and dialogue from other characters, they are presented with a close-up of Daniel's reactions. In many cases, these shots are slowed for a more dramatic effect. As the audience views Daniel, they are free to imagine what he is visualizing, while the audience makes audiological observations. It forces them to examine his reactions and how they relate to their own situations. On the other hand, this movie has a message of continuous, unfaltering passion. The screaming bandleader and bellowing peers are representations of the brutal, real-world criticism and discouragement people face as they try to live out their dreams. The fight for the drummer's part in the musical piece Caravan also conveys a deeper message than a boy wanting a part. This is a fight for the life he wants to live. He wants to distinguish himself from his family, his bandmates, and his competitors. The harder and faster he drums, the more we understand his passion of yearning to achieve his goal of playing for studio band. The scene becomes not about owning a part, but owning his own life. In contrast, the film The 400 Blows was a psychological film in which the message was conveyed through the form in which the content was displayed. Although Truffaut claims there are scarcely more than 7 or 8 scenarists working regularly for the French cinema, and it's always a question of a sympathetic victim. The knavery of his kin and the hatred among the members of his family lead the hero to his doom, the injustice of life, and for local colour, and the wickedness of the world. The film is done in all black and white and includes many close subjects-related shots. There are also a number of lower angles that distort the attitude of the film. We feel through the technical form of the film that the world is so much bigger than we originally felt it was. It demonstrates the tying theme of the film that problems continue to overwhelm the character's vision and cause life-altering trouble. The surrounding spacing of the scene is also a subconscious element that details the true mentality of the boy in his situation. At home, the relationship between his parents and himself is not the ideal environment. He skips school, his mother goes out, his father isn't home much, and punishment doesn't seem to affect him. The boy is also a troublemaker at school. This is presented by the spacing as well. The fact that there is always a problem in the home is presented by the form of spacing in the scene. It is crowded, unavoidable. Every place that the boy steals from or visits is open. He has a clear mind in these locations, thinking only of the future possibilities and not of his current status. The form in which the film's image is being produced is aiding the message of the film subconsciously. Another example of form enhancing the content's message is found in the Imitation Game. This film includes an abundance of tight shots that help to focus the audience into the content. It also includes many direct level shots with the main character, Alan, touring. During his lifetime, homosexuality was illegal.
It's illegal.
While dealing with his outlawed sexuality, Turing offered his puzzle abilities and code-cracking services to the intelligence force in order to help crack Enigma. This historical film aims to have us identify with Turing, as he was someone who did not fit in with his peers or his generation. Through the concentrated colours in the film, the time period is established in a unique form. Instead of shooting the film in black and white to give an illusion that the film was shot at the time of the content, the film is shot in high concentrated colours with a deep focus in order to capture the audience and bring them back in time with the characters. Through this form, the audience is unable to be lost or uninterested, as all of the subject matter is presented directly and tied to the emotion of the character. This film can also argue the content as a means of form as well. Alan is an antisocial character. Many scenes engage the audience simply because they're trying to read his expressions or interpret them. They await his reaction in some cases, and therefore are connecting with the movie at another level. The anticipation gives them time to think of how they would react, or what their reaction they think is morally correct. In conclusion, the psychological experience of understanding a film is one that appeals to not only our conscious minds, but our subconscious selves. The form in which one accomplishes this determines the responsiveness of their audience. It also determines to which audience it appeals to, as this is how that group's subconscious functions. As expressed, form can be the way the content is relayed, like Imitation Game or The 400 Blows, or the content can be the form or method portraying a deeper meaning, like in Narnia. The angle in which a filmmaker takes in order to evoke certain reactions from his audience defines the form in which he will use. Film is psychological and is interpreted differently for individual people, therefore the form used directs their attention to what he wants them to notice. In the end, film is an illusion. It is a magic trick of continuity in order to create an alternate functioning world that the audience can relate to or question. So should form only frame the content being displayed? In all honesty, there is no limitation on the definition of form. In many cases, the kind of content used is the form. It is used as a representation for a larger story. Form can be technical or abstract. Either one shapes the way a filmmaker tells a story. In the end, is that not our ultimate goal? To encourage the audience to ponder what they know and be inspired to search for something deeper.